Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how much we love to get deep into these fascinating topics, and today we're ready to tackle a really intriguing one.
Yeah.
David Eagleman's Incognito, The Secret Lives of the Brain. I know a lot of you have been curious about this one,
Oh, for sure.
and it really dives into the whole mystery of the subconscious mind.
Absolutely.
That hidden part of us that's always working behind the scenes.
It's like the puppet master.
Exactly, pulling all the strings.
But we have no idea.
Right. So let's unravel this mystery together. One of the things that really grabbed me right away was how Eagleman compares the conscious mind to the tip of an iceberg.
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
It is. It really makes you realize how much is going on beneath the surface.
Right. And it makes you think, like, what is all that stuff doing down there?
Exactly. Like how much control do we really have if so much of our brain activity is happening without us even knowing it?
And that's really what Eagleman is getting at, right? He's saying that most of what our brain does is outside of our conscious awareness.
Okay, so it's not like we have this little mini me sitting in our heads making all the decisions.
Right. It's not like a little captain steering the ship.
Right. It's more complex than that.
Yeah, much more. He uses as a great example of a jumbo jet, with all its millions of parts working together.
Oh, I remember that.
So we, as the passengers, were only aware of the flight path, right?
Right.
Where we're taking off from, where we're landing.
But there's so much happening behind the scenes.
Exactly. All those complex calculations, adjustments, the mechanics, the navigation systems.
And we just trust that it's all working correctly.
Exactly. And it's the same with our brains.
So we might think we're making a conscious decision,
Right.
but really our subconscious has already done all the groundwork.
Yeah, it's taken everything into account, our past experiences, our biases, even our emotions.
So that gut feeling we sometimes get, is that like the subconscious giving us a nudge?
That's a great way to put it. It's like a whisper from below.
I never thought about it like that before.
But it makes sense, right? We're constantly picking up on cues and information that we're not even aware of.
And our subconscious is processing all of it, making lightning fast calculations.
And then it gives us a little nudge of feeling and intuition.
And sometimes we ignore it, and sometimes we listen.
Exactly. And, sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong.
Right. But it's always fascinating to think about how much influence it has on our lives.
Absolutely. And, another mind-blowing point that Eagleman makes is that our brains aren't just passively perceiving reality.
It's actually creating it.
Yes. Our brains are constructing our experience of the world.
So it's not like we're just cameras recording what's out there.
No, it's much more active than that.
Our brains are taking in information from our senses.
Right, like sights, sounds, smells.
But then it's filtering it, interpreting it, putting its own spin on things.
Exactly. And that's why two people can look at the same thing and see something totally different.
Like that whole what color is the dress thing that went viral a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, that was a perfect example.
People were seeing blue and black or white and gold.
And they were so sure they were right.
It really highlighted how subjective perception can be.
Absolutely. And how much our individual experiences and expectations shape what we see.
So we're not just seeing the world as it is.
We're seeing our own version of it.
Wow, that's pretty profound.
It is. And, all this talk about how our brains shape our reality leads us to another fascinating concept, neuroplasticity.
Oh yeah, the idea that our brains are constantly changing and adapting.
Imagine your brain as this bustling city, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
New roads being built, old ones being rerouted, buildings going up and down.
Constantly evolving.
Exactly. And it's the same with our brains.
So learning a new skill, like playing an instrument or speaking a new language,
Those activities are like construction projects in your brain.
they're actually changing the physical structure of our brains.
You got it. Eagleman talks about London cab drivers.
Oh yeah, they have to memorize that incredibly complex map of the city.
And their hippocampi, the brain regions responsible for spatial memory.
They actually get bigger.
Exactly. Because they're using those areas so much, the brain adapts and strengthens those connections.
So it's not just a metaphor. Our brains literally change shape based on what we do.
That's right. And this has some really empowering implications.
It means we're not stuck with the brain we're born with
We have the power to mold our own brains.
through our choices and actions.
Exactly. And this ties in beautifully with the evolutionary perspective that Eagleman highlights.
Oh, right. He talks about how our brains are the products of millions of years of evolution.
And that's why they're so incredibly complex and adaptable.
So all those subconscious processes we've been talking about,
They're not just random quirks.
they were shaped over time to help our ancestors survive.
Exactly. Think about language, for example.
That's a pretty incredible ability.
It allowed our ancestors to communicate, cooperate, share knowledge.
And that gave them a huge advantage.
Absolutely. And the same goes for abstract thought, social intelligence, all those things that make us human,
They're all products of natural selection.
honed over countless generations.
But here's the thing. Sometimes those same instincts that helped our ancestors.
Can actually lead us astray in the modern world.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about our tendency to overeat.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Back in the day when food was scarce, it made sense to gorge yourself whenever you had the chance.
Right. You never knew when your next meal would be.
Exactly, but now, with food so readily available.
That same instinct can lead to health problems.
Precisely. And there are countless other examples.
So our subconscious is a double-edged sword, in a way.
In a way, yes.
It's this powerful force that can both help us and hinder us.
And that brings us to a big question that Eagleman wrestles with: free will.
Oh, yeah, that's a deep one.
If so much of our behavior is driven by subconscious processes,
How much control do we really have?
that's the million-dollar question. And Eagleman doesn't claim to have all the answers.
But he does offer some intriguing insights.
He suggests that while we might not have complete conscious control over every thought and action,
We can still influence our subconscious.
through our choices and behaviors.
It's a two-way street.
Exactly. It's this constant interplay between our conscious intentions and our hidden mental processes.
This is not a hopeless situation.
Not at all. In fact, Eagleman argues that understanding the subconscious can actually empower us.
Empower us how?
Well, think about it. If we can become aware of our subconscious biases and patterns,
We could start to challenge them.
we can make more informed decisions, break bad habits, maybe even address deeper issues.
Like addiction or mental illness.
Exactly.
So instead of being controlled by our subconscious,
We can start to work with it.
it's like shining a light on those hidden puppet strings.
Perfect analogy. We might not be able to fully control them
But at least we can see them.
and understand how they work.
That's a really hopeful message.
It is, and that's what I love about Incognito. It doesn't just explore the mysteries of the brain.
It gives us tools to use that knowledge
They improve our lives.
and to better understand ourselves.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it really makes you wonder, if our subconscious is so powerful,
What other secrets is it hiding?
what else is going on beneath the surface that we're not even aware of?
That's a question that'll keep me thinking for a while.
Me too. And I think that's the mark of a truly great book.
It leaves you with more questions than answers.
It sparks curiosity and a desire to learn more.
Well, I'm definitely feeling inspired to delve deeper into the world of the subconscious.
Me too. And I hope our listeners are feeling the same way.
If you're intrigued by all this talk about the secret lives of the brain,
I highly recommend checking out Incognito.
it's a fascinating read and a real eye-opener.
And if you're interested in exploring more thought-provoking topics like this,
Be sure to join us next time for another deep dive.
we'll be tackling a whole new set of mysteries.
Until then, keep those brains buzzing.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.